So another troubling ruling coming out of the Supreme Court today. This time, conservative judges in a 5-4 vote upheld the Trump administration's changes to the public charge statute, basically making it more difficult for people coming to this country who don't have a lot of means could basically get turned away, and it's just very sick and disgusting. And obviously, the Trump administration's impetus for doing this had xenophobic and racist reasons for doing this, and it's it's just the makeup of the Supreme Court is such. They decided to uphold this shameful and disgusting policy. So this is from Common Dreams. Outrage erupted Monday after the U.S. Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration's so-called public charge rule, a policy its critics call a racist wealth test, to stand. The vote was 5-4, with all 5 conservatives in the majority to grant the administration's request for the rule to be implemented, even as it faces challenges in lower courts. This is shameful, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said on Twitter. Americans shouldn't have a wealth test for admission. It's a place where millions of people are descendants of immigrants who came with nothing and made a life. The American dream isn't a private club with a cover charge. It's a possibility of remaking your future. The rule, pushed by White House senior advisor and White House and white nationalist Stephen Miller, was immediately met with immediate criticism when it was first rolled out. As CBS News reported, by dramatically expanding the definition of a, quote, public charge or an economic burden on society, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, regulation unveiled in August gives officials more power to deny visas and green card applications from immigrants and prospective immigrants whom the government determines rely or could rely on certain public benefits like food stamps and government housing programs. For decades, the U.S. has asked most green card and visa petitioners to prove they won't be a public charge on the country, but the new rule scraps Clinton-era guidelines that said only the use of cash benefits could be analyzed by immigration caseworkers. So basically, like I said, the Trump administration is expanding this to basically not let anybody in the country who does not have, a lot of money or financial means. And usually, if you're coming to this country, it's because you're trying to seek a better life for yourself and your families. So this obviously would harm, the most vulnerable migrants and prospective migrants that might be trying to come to the United States. So it'd have, a very chilling effect, on prospective people wanting to immigrate to the United States. And then if they do try to do that, if they don't have those means, then they're just going to get sent back to their country by our immigration services. The rule also allows immigrants to be declared a public charge and denied green cards even if they are employed. Wow, what? I mean, this is the Trump administration, and, it's just out and out white supremacy and xenophobic and racist policies that they're implementing, and it's just very telling to me that Stephen Miller is still in the Trump administration, even though all of those documents or those emails were released a couple of months ago showing he was, like the article said, an out and out white nationalist. A federal judge in October issued an injunction blocking the rule from going into effect and called it, quote, repugnant to the American dream. The Trump administration asked the Second Circuit Court of Appeals to lift the injunction, but was rebuffed. The administration then took its efforts to the High Court, resulting in Monday's ruling. The ruling does not apply to Illinois, which is covered by a separate injunction. The immigration rights attorney fighting the policy remain undeterred in their effort. So they're going to keep fighting it, which is really good. The Supreme Court's decision will further marginalize immigrant communities and will inevitably create a socioeconomic hierarchy in our immigration system, said CARE Government Affairs Director Robert McCaw. The Trump administration's policy could quite literally kill people by making them too afraid to seek life-saving medical care, and the Supreme Court seems to agree such a cruel system is acceptable. And obviously, you know, Trump has said in the past that he wants to get more people migrating to the United States from these white Nordic European countries, and obviously this particular policy is an effort to deter people of color, especially people from Latin America and South America, from being able to migrate to the United States. And so this is Bernie reacting to it, and he makes a good point. Quote, "My father came to America at 17 without a nickel, speaking no English," he wrote. He grew up to be the proudest American you ever saw. Trump's policy is disgraceful. It is not what America is about. We will defeat him and end his demonization of immigrants and the poor. It's perfect. Let's see. Yeah. And then one of Bernie's policy advisors is going to rescind this public charge rule on day one. But again, not super surprising that the Trump administration was pushing this public charge law. A lot of their rhetoric obviously has been built around demonizing people of color and immigrants in particular, especially immigrants from these Latin American countries. And it's, obviously very racist and xenophobic. And like that person pointed out, it'll create a hierarchy of immigrants. The people with wealth and means will get to the top of the list, will get let in the country. The people who are seeking to try to make a better life for themselves and their families will be, if they don't have those means, they'll get denied. They'll get sent back to their country. They won't get their visas or their green cards, and again, it's going to lead to people dying and a lot of pain and suffering unneedlessly, because Trump just wants to divide people and demonize these other groups in order to take away the tension from these bigger structural problems in our society and how our kind of economy is structured for why people are struggling. It's not the, the migrant caravans who are coming to the United States to seek a better life for themselves, literally just carrying what they have on their backs. No, that's not the people that you need to be worried about. It's the wealthy oligarchic elite, the top 1%, and in particular the top 0.1%, the billionaire class, who has sucked up almost all of the wealth gains, especially since the 2008 recession, but even just in general since basically the 1980s, and once Reagan got in and deregulation and all the tax cuts to the wealthy and all of these things. Those are the real reasons why lower class and middle class people in the United States are struggling. It's not because the migrants are coming here and just making life so bad for middle class and lower income Americans. No, it's the people at the top who are siphoning off all of our wealth. And yeah, so it's not surprising, but still very disturbing that the Supreme Court upheld this law. And that's why it's super important to try to pack the Supreme Court with more progressive justices who wouldn't vote for these type of things, or to maybe change around the Supreme Court so they don't have lifetime appointments or something like that. But super troubling, both from the Trump administration and then the Supreme Court upholding this horribly racist and xenophobic public charge law that's going to have some really negative consequences in the real world. And let's get Bernie elected. He'll get in there, overturn that, and bring back some sanity and moral clarity to the White House. Peace. Much love.